What exercises are safe after a hip replacement? That could be the question you're asking because you've got one booked or you've just had one. And if that's what you're thinking about, well, we're going to go through that in this video now. Now, hip osteoarthritis is something that impairs and impedes a lot of people, not just in the UK, but worldwide. And arthritis is a huge burden on a number of people. And as a result of the fact that it is such a worldwide big issue, we know a lot about what hip arthritis needs, how it gets treated, how to look after it, and when to pick it up. And actually, one of the key things that enables people to have a better quality of life and to thrive is having a hip replacement. Now, a hip replacement is a big procedure, don't get me wrong. We've spoken about that on this channel many times before. And in this video, what I want to do is answer the question that loads of people have when they're booking in for it, or they might have just had it. And that question is, what exercises are going to be safe afterwards? Or even just what exercise is safe afterwards? And the thing is with this, you've got patients that vary in that some people are very, very active and want to or need to have a hip replacement in order to live that active lifestyle. So they're keen to understand, what am I going to be able to get back to? What is safe to do afterwards? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? On the flip side, you've got people that have lived with hip osteoarthritis for so long and they've been so impaired and debilitated by their pain that this is going to change it. They're going to have the hip replacement and they want their quality of life to be different. So they want to do more exercise. And then the same question comes to light. What is safe? What should I do? And what shouldn't I do? Now, the difficulty is with this, sometimes you don't get the care that you might need or the physio or the rehab post-operatively. A lot of people might just have the hip replacement and are kind of left to their own devices, meaning that, you're searching for videos like this for help and guidance in regards to what to do. But, rest assured, I'm a hip specialist physio. I've been doing this a long time and I see patients in this category and context day in and day out. And I have done for the last 10 years at least, having been a physio for about 17. And this is a big passion of mine. I'm really, really keen to ensure that people who have a hip replacement do what they need to do to get their quality of life back and to thrive. There's nothing that bothers me more than when expectations are diminished. And that's why we need to understand what we can and can't do. And I'm going to cut straight into it now to understand what exercises are safe. Now, having had a hip replacement, initially the hip is going to be stiff, it's going to be sore. We're thinking at this stage now, you're doing your rehab, you're doing your exercises post-operatively. What am I able to do once things start to settle down? The range of movement is getting better. The strength is gradually getting better. And you're at a stage now potentially where you're weeks and weeks down the line and you're starting to consider where your thoughts are going to be from an ongoing maintenance and management perspective. You want to get back into the gym, you want to go back and do exercise, but you're not really too sure once you get over that rehab hump where it is that you need to put your direction into. Now let's think about general activity to start with. Let's put our focus into that in this video. One of the key things that you want to do once you've had your hip replaced is become as active as possible. The increase in activity will help your recovery. Physically, it will help you mentally, it will help you psychologically, you'll become more resilient. And it's really important to consider that walking is fantastic. Getting your steps in can be a huge support in your recovery. But try and quantify it. Try and understand what your step count is. Have a look at what you've done week in, week out. See if you can increase your average by going out for more walks. Change the terrain, change the incline and the decline. Get used to doing those things because it's completely safe to do it. Naturally, the more you do that, the quicker the recovery will be. Not only the muscles are getting stronger, not only your stability is getting stronger, the joint is adapting to that input, and you're going to feel a whole heap better in comparison to if you're just trying to walk around the house and think that's enough. And that never really is quite enough. The caveat with this though is you may well have had hip pain for such a long period of time that your walking gait would have been impaired. If your hip's been so stiff and so restricted, you probably haven't walked that well or walked that much for months, if not years, up until the time you've had your hip replacement. So the second you have your hip replacement, your brain and your body isn't going to behave immediately like you think it will do. It will take time. You have to ease your way into it. And if you need to walk for a while with a crutch to get your quality back and to move effectively and optimize that general mechanics of how your body moves, well, that's absolutely fine. There's no need to rush it. These things take time. And then you've got the next level up, those who want to get back into the gym, those who want to do some strength training or gym training. And that might be your identity. That might be the thing that you're most passionate about. Hip replacements are there to enable you to live your life. They're not there to make you restricted. No one goes and has a hip replacement to make them more debilitated, not out of choice anyway. These hips are there to enable you to do more, and going into the gym and doing strength work is an absolutely fundamental yes from me. There isn't much that really you should be avoiding. Now, this is to cover the general context. Sure, there are going to be certain situations and provisos where certain people will have certain limitations and things that they should and shouldn't do because of their unique circumstance. But generally, as a rule of thumb, as things have recovered and as your range and your hip has improved in that early stage, like I said, and you're getting into the gym, most things in this state are safe. Don't be scared of doing your squats. Don't be scared of doing your deadlifts or your lunges. Contrary to what your brain might make you think, these things are safe. Now, for sure, I think you need help and support getting to that point. And that's why I'm such a big believer and why I'm so passionate about rehab and rehab post-operatively. Equally why I'm developing my app to try to give people support post-operatively so they know what exercises to do, when to do them, how to do them, to get you to that stage, because it's not that straightforward. You can't just do your bed-based exercises from the hospital and then jump in the gym and think you're going to be able to do these squats and deadlifts and lunges, because you haven't really trained after surgery to get to that point. But you certainly can. Split squats, step ups, all of these things will end up being fundamental things that you're able to do post-op to build your hip strength up. These exercises are not gate kept for like those who are just high level CrossFit, high rocks type athletes. This is for everyone. Guys, we need to move away from just being so shoehorn and ring fence into just bed-based Pilates exercises on a sheet. Your hip needs more, your hip deserves more, and you deserve more to be able to do what you want to do. Other things that sometimes people ask, age-old question, can I run? Yes, you can. Now, I wouldn't say if you've never run in your life, go and have a hip replacement and then take up running. There's loads of other things that you can do, like we've been discussing. But running can be done with a hip replacement. Running is safe to do with a hip replacement. Historically, people are told not to run based on the fact that there was concern that it will wear the hip away or that you'll need a revision sooner. But evidence doesn't back that up. The research demonstrates that actually it doesn't reduce the survivorship. It doesn't impact your recovery. If anything, it supports your recovery. But in order to enable you to get to that point of being able to run, you need to move from the initial rehab and you need the support to get you to that stage. But absolutely you can. I've got patients that have done marathons and Ironmans and strongmans and triathlons and duathlons and whatever athlon you want to add into it, you can do it. But it's very particular to that individual. Some people who historically had done gymnastics and ballet and had a hip replacement, well, their flexibility, their soft tissue, their muscles, their joints, their makeup is going to enable them to move probably better, quicker in comparison to others. So recovery may look different, but by the end, you need to have your expectations set high. And if running is your, again, badge of honor, your identity, the thing you're most passionate about, and the only thing that you do to get your psychological endorphin hit, well, how can anybody say for you not to do it? You've already lived a life where you're deprived from doing the thing you're passionate about, deprived from exercising the way that you want. The hip replacement should be there to enable you to do it. And you shouldn't necessarily be avoiding those things, because we don't really know. Those advices are often given by surgeons to try and mitigate risk. And sure, it will mitigate risk, but also it will increase risk. Increase risk of fear avoidance, increase risk of possibly being more sedentary. So keeping active is absolutely key. Now, the other thing along that spectrum also is trying to consider when some things probably aren't safe. And I am the eternal optimist. You probably will know if you've watched this video and other videos, I am the eternal optimist when it comes to trying to rehab patients. But there are some things which I think might be pushing it a bit too far. You know, if you've just had a hip replacement or a hip resurfacing, I don't think you're going to be getting back to playing rugby or competitive football or doing things which are kind of unpredictable in nature. Your tennis, your badminton, the things that are high level impact, cutting based type sports are sometimes a challenge. And those that are contact based are at a higher risk because of the unpredictability and the nature of that kind of environment. So there are some limitations for sure, but I think the limitations that are actually apparent and true are very different to what people actually perceive as unsafe. So there is an abundance of things that you can do, but these things are critical. These things are critical. And I think the biggest issue that we have in healthcare, we're managing people who have hip replacements, have had hip replacements, or are wanting to get their quality of life back, is understanding what that outcome should be after. It's understanding what the rehab should be afterwards. One of the things I'm going to do on this channel after you've watched this video, if it's published, I'll link it. If it isn't, come back and have a look soon because it'll be on. But I'm going to film some exercises that you can do in those early stages. So if you've just had the surgery, you're just trying to figure out how to walk, you're just trying to figure out how to rehab it, and all you've got is a sheet of exercises and you don't know what to do, or you don't even have that, you're just left to your own devices. There's going to be videos on this channel where I'm going to go through it. But what I really want to understand is, for those of you that are watching this, you no doubt have a specific interest in this topic. And I want to understand from your perspective, what have you heard in regards to the do's and the don'ts when it comes to exercise? Does some of this resonate with what you've heard? Does some of this differ from what you've heard? I want you to comment below and let me know, because I think the more of us that come together as healthcare practitioners, and also the more of us that understand how to help patients facilitate their recovery better, the better the outcomes are going to be. Guys, you have to consider this. A hip replacement is the most advanced and effective orthopedic replacement, orthopedic arthroplasty. You're comparing it to the ankle, to the knee, to the shoulder. The hip is the absolute, for want of a better word, the dogs. And the fact that it is so good, we need to make sure that we really enable patients afterwards, give them the life that they deserve, get the most out of that surgical procedure, and go from there.